Hello and welcome to the final. I gotta get this camera right, or I'm gonna be looking in weird places. I'm broadcasting from a broom closet in the Sydney office of my firm. It's a very not my usual luxurious background. But here I am because I'm dedicated to bringing you this Melbourne Survivor One coverage as we enter hour number 5, the 5th hour of the coverage of a 26-minute episode that is on YouTube. They said it couldn't be done, but I am happy to bring this content to you. I'm happy to make sure that you get the full coverage of Melbourne Survivor. We will be, of course, handing out the awards that all of you have been voting for over the season. And, of course, the all-important ORCA award. And then we will be chatting with production for a bit to round out our coverage of the season. Next month, we will start our coverage of Backyard Survivor 1, obviously a more wholesome season, 9 to 10 episodes there of quality content, which we're looking forward to getting into. But tonight, very special moment to hand out these awards. And who else to join me for delivering the awards but the Queen herself, Annabel. Welcome, Annabel.
We're here for the 4th podcast on Melbourne Survivor Season 1 that no one wanted, no one asked for, and we're here to serve anyway.
That's what we're doing. We're bringing the content. There's 3 people watching. Somebody wants it. Okay, so all through this month, you have had the opportunity to vote on various categories for the season. The voting is closed, and we're here to announce the results. Annabel, first of all, over under, how many people do you think voted?
Okay, well, I voted, so there's at least one, and I'm guessing you voted as well, and probably Toby voted. I'm going to say 5 people.
We actually ended up with 17.
Oh!
17
oh my
votes.
goodness.
Good.
That's epic.
So people have been engaging in the content, and that's what we want. All right. So first up was the MVP of the season. I can tell you that 5 people received votes. Who would you think received the most votes?
So I think this one's going to be a runaway for Toby, but I think Charlotte will have received some votes as well. I wonder if Ian gets a rogue vote for being there. And then who knows, maybe people jumped on and voted for themselves. What are your, you know the answers.
I know the results, yeah. I was going with your, very, very well thought out by yourself. Toby did win. He had 35% of the vote. Charlotte came in second with 23% of the vote. So Charlotte only had 2 votes less than Toby. So people did rate Charlotte's game. Next, equally with 3 votes each, was Keegan and Kyle. I think one of those votes for Keegan would have been himself.
Definitely.
And then there was a throwaway vote on Rosemary. I don't know, maybe by Liz.
Okay, well, love that for them.
Yeah. Okay, but you very well predicted that. Who wins the Annabel Award for the best pre-merge boot?
Oh, that's a good one. I can't even remember who went out pre-merge. I can't even remember who I voted. Oh, I think I voted for Rosemary, actually. Was it Rosemary?
It was Rosemary. A bit of a landslide here. 10 votes for Rosemary. Mitch, who you encountered in the LRG mini this weekend, who I think he dragged you out of the game.
Yeah, Mitch dragged me. He's cancelled, but I guess we still love.
He only got 4 votes. Sophia, the first boot, got 3 no votes for Cam and Lauren. Okay. Which one-time player would you like to see play again?
Ooh, can't remember. Ian? Where's Ian being mentioned here?
Ian got 2 votes here. Okay. It's about 12% of the vote. This is quite a spread here, to be honest.
All right, go on. Is Kyle's played back? No, has Kyle played another game? All right, well then give me Kyle.
Kyle, second place, 3 votes. Charlotte with 4 votes, number 1.
Oh yes, of course.
Toby got 2 votes. Ian 2 votes. Kevin 2 votes. Nathaniel 1. Sophia 1, and Alicia 1. So lots of people don't see. A lot of people see. Maybe people didn't feel they got enough of these characters from the content they were provided.
I mean, they shone in that 2 seconds. They did really shine.
This question I probably didn't ask quite rightly, but the question was really because I'm not going to be telling the rankings of every season, though I did confess this was number 11 to no one's surprise. Is this season rightly in the bottom 6, or should it be in the top 5?
Oh no, this is perfectly ranked. This is 25 minutes of my life I'll never get back.
Well, 12 people agree with you. 4 people think that it is ranked too low, and 1 person said it is ranked too high.
It's why is it even on the list? I agree. Why is it
that
even
you?
on the list?
Was that you that was too high?
Well, no, I mean it's perfect because it's last, but does it qualify is what I would ask. It was more like a recap episode. So I thought we were doing them in order, CK. I thought we were going from lowest ranked all the way up to highest ranked.
Well, that was the original plan, and then some people got in my ear that maybe that's a bit unfair to the people that don't do well. But to be honest, I've got the votes, and I don't think anyone's going to be shocked by a lot of the outcomes. So maybe I will do it that way. Like we can all harden up a bit, can't we? In this snowflake world.
I mean, who's going to be offended by this? The creators?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, if the creators are going to have their feelings hurt, I guess. Whatever.
They put a lot of work into these things. Hard work. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 11, 1 being the best, where would you rank Toby's game compared to that of the other 10 LRG winners?
That would have involved me watching the other LRGs, but
You
us
more than you want to admit.
No, I mean I've watched a few at this point for this podcast, but also it would involve us actually seeing Toby's game, and we only saw about 15 minutes of it. But the other players on this 25-minute season really like to hype his game, so I'm guessing he's going to be pretty high up there.
In the end, it's 6.33, so out of 11. It's not super high. Obviously, people don't credit it. The votes perhaps vote. Look, if you attended or watched the interview I did with him, I think that you would recognize that he played quite a strong game. But without that, it's very difficult to know that. Okay, and now the award that actually matters, which is the ORCA award, the Bromilow Medal, which is quite fortuitous because the Brownlow Medal is on tonight. Did you know that?
Absolutely. The Bromilow Medal for our first ever official winner of the ORCA award, Ethan Bromilow. And just to remind our audience, there are 3 key criteria for winning the most ORCA of the season. Okay, that is number 1, propensity for narcissism. You need to really back yourself and you need to really back your game. Number 2, loud and proud. If you have not rubbed someone the wrong way within the first day, you're not ORCAing hard enough. And number 3, you know best. That means that you're forcing your strategy down everybody's throats. You know the right move, and you want to make sure that everybody else knows that too. CK and I, proud ORCAs. CK, talk us through the results.
Okay, so the fans were able to vote for this, and we said in their voting that their combined votes would count for a single 3-2-1, and then the rest of the ORCAs have all put in their own 3-2-1. There was actually quite a spread from the fan votes, and it's resulted in, like, from the fan perspective, a 2-way tie for first and a 4-way tie for second and a 2-way tie for third. So I've just brought in votes for all of them with that regard, just to even it out.
I CK, not to doubt the audience, but I just feel like they don't fully appreciate the criteria of the ORCA award. They don't really understand what that means. Would you like to maybe prune from those results and of the people who have tied at every level, select who you think is the most ORCA-ish option?
Okay, well, at the 1 point level, there was Nathaniel and Rosemary, not interested in either of them, then it went ORCA. I've actually gave my 1 vote to Cam. And this is a little shout out to my first appearance on Melbourne Survivor in the pre-game, the waiting room content, where everyone identified me as ORCA asshole by wearing my sunglasses and being too cool for school. Cam, from the footage we saw, did not take off his sunglasses the entire time he played the game and thought he was quite cool in that respect. So I gave him
Yeah,
a vote for
Cam.
the
Yeah,
sunglasses.
okay. Cam gets to the one vote from the audience. We love that.
Yeah.
Refusing to remove your shades even after 6 p.m. Peak ORCA.
Yeah. So then Alicia, Keegan, Kath, they all got 2 votes. And maybe Kath. Okay, so then we get to the top 4. In third place was Kyle with 7. Is Kyle ORCA? I don't think so. He's like really nice.
He could get a 1 vote, but he's not a 3 vote.
No, he's a lovely guy. Okay. And then Charlotte got 8. She was dominating the game, but she seemed to be doing it in a nice way.
Very hard to tell. We saw her for maybe 3-4 minutes.
But the top 2 are clearly the deserved top 2, and that is, of course, between Kevin and Ian. Now, why don't you sing Ian's praises? Why do you think Ian perhaps should be the most ORCA of the season?
Well, that's hard for me to do because I'm firmly Team Kevin for this prize. But
Right.
Ian, I do think deserves an honourable mention on this list because rocking up and not giving any fucks about what anybody else is thinking or doing does really hone into the spirit of the ORCA award. I mean, in order to play a social game and not care to socialize, it's giving propensity for narcissism. To really back your own strategy by not aligning with the strategy of others, that gives pushing your strategy on others. It's the loud and proud where I think he really falls down for me, but, being quite salty as he's voted out
Super salty.
gives loud and proud. Gives loud and
And,
proud.
and we do have to prop up the moment where he played an idol for no on Charlotte to secure her hand in marriage to his son, even though he could have used that idol quite valuably at the next tribal council to save himself. So looking beyond the bigger game there is something worthwhile, perhaps, but maybe too nice for his son there. To be ORCA. But the obvious landslide winner here with 18 votes, Ian also had 8, same as Charlotte. 80 votes.
From the audience? Is this from the audience?
No, this is combined all the authors.
Oh, so sorry. I thought we were still going through the audience picks.
Sorry, it's a mix. I mixed it.
Okay, so sorry, who's number 1? Who's third?
On everyone's tally?
Yeah.
It's Charlotte.
Okay, so Charlotte comes in third, second?
Yeah.
Ian, sure, and first, well-deserved by Kevin. Well-deserved.
Kevin got everyone's vote from the ORCAs, except for Jules, who voted for Charlotte, and he's got the fan vote as well. He's got everyone's vote. Kevin has landslided this thing in.
Kevin, we barely saw you, but your legacy, it's survived for many, many, many years.
I think I can't do anything but bow down in sheer admiration for someone who rolls into merge with the numbers and is arrogant enough to just take your 2 best allies on the reward, leaving everyone else behind. You're 4, you're 5, you're 6. This is the 3. And then being so confident in your behavior just to take off your immunity and give it to Toby. Just give the necklace. You're so confident you won't get voted out.
Honestly, it's sexy. Is Kevin single?
Yeah. Well, I reached out to Kevin to see if we could get him on the pod today. Unfortunately, his Facebook profile is untouched since for 3 years, and he doesn't even have a picture on it. So probably not a prolific social media user, unfortunately. And as far as I think Liz knows, Kevin has disappeared off the face of the earth. But I am sure that this is the most proudest achievement of his life.
I agree. I mean, I can't imagine. Second winner of the Bromilow Medal. Congratulations, Kevin.
If Kevin, if you ever watch this, you reach out. We can get you on a pod just to come out. We want to see Kevin. We want to see Kevin's takes, his super hot ORCA takes.
The audience demands a 6th podcast on Melbourne Survivor Season 1.
With the ORCA runner-ups. No, thank you for being here, Annabel, for the awards. I know you've got a very busy podcasting schedule now. Would you like to plug your podcasting schedule? Not yet?
Yes, sure. I'm covering the Amazing Race Australia coming out soon on Silent Podcasts. I'm also going to be covering the Traitors Canada, and that will be coming out later this week as well.
Very exciting. Thank you. And so thank you for still making time for your home base here on the Orcas. And we're looking forward to the next tea party next when we cover Backyard 1.
Absolutely. I've got to start watching Backyard now.
Yeah, you do. Sorry.
Shoot me into the sun. I'm sure it'll be great. Have a good one. Enjoy your chat with the producers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Annabel. So that pretty much rounds up a lot of the coverage for our Melbourne Survivor 1 coverage, but all we need to do now is to talk with the producers and get the real lowdown of how this season came together, any tidbits from behind the scenes that we may have missed. And to join me to talk about some of the production aspects is my partner in crime that, we'll never vote each other out in anything, everyone knows it, Max.
Thank you, CK. Yeah, you're pretty right there. Until the next time we play and looks like you're gone first up. No, I can't say that. I don't mean it.
We're too far deep now. There's too many games we just haven't done it. It feels like worse than a normal betrayal.
It makes me more of a threat because I have you as my baggage.
I'm the baggage. People should take you out. You're the nice guy. All right, so thank you for joining me, Max. We're going to get your excellent coverage on the challenges, which I actually felt were pretty good this season. What did you think from looking at the challenges?
Yeah, for a first go at a filmed version of a LRG was pretty awesome, considering it was a 1-day mini essentially that was filmed. Yeah, and it was a great job. I'm excited to hear Liz's thoughts on the challenges, and yeah, let's get into it.
Right, well, without further ado, let's bring in the infamous Liz.
Hey!
You got some. Hello. I think I'm getting some echo from you.
From me?
Yes.
I don't know how to fix that.
You need headphones or I'm too loud. Turn the volume down. Can you still hear me?
How's that?
Yeah, that's all right. It's a slight echo, but all right. And Connick is here. Still a bit of echo. Look, I'll fix it in a second. Why don't you tell us about how Melbourne Survivor 1 came about? Why try and fix this?
About how Melbourne Survivor came about?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I had a bunch of friends who I was like, these people would be really good at Survivor. And I feel like they would enjoy it as well. So, but I was like, how do I get them to do this when they don't want to? So I was like, I'll do an event for my birthday. I'll have a Survivor themed 21st. And yeah, it'll just be a big excuse to create my own little Survivor.
And no, I'm still getting this echo. Did you think all those years ago when you started this one season with, for your birthday, for your 25th birthday, that you would be here 5 years later with 5 hours of podcasting about this season?
I could only dream. I was keen to do another one afterwards. I was but I didn't know how it would go. And I think my goals for the first one were a lot lower before Connick came into the picture. Who's a very ambitious person. So I was just picturing things being an hour long or 2 hour game in my parents' living room or something. And then Connick came along and was like, we could do this. And I was like, I love that. Yeah, sure. Like if we can do that, then like I'm on board. So yeah.
Well, let's Kira, still hear me? Well, we're talking about Connick. Let's bring in Connick, the enigmatic mystery man, the enigmatic producer of mystery. I'm saying you're mysterious because I've joined this community over the last couple of years and I've never heard of you before this season. But what we talked about with this season is that the production, the editing, the drone work was really spectacular. Liz credits that all to you, Connick. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was a multitude of things. So
I'm also hearing an echo. Liz, you need to
Okay. I'm just gonna like rejoin and then see if that like helps.
Either that or you need to mute yourself so that when you speak, it doesn't come through on your end.
Yeah, it's working fine. Liz is having technical issues. Did you have these sorts of technical issues with her on the production of Melbourne Survival 1?
Liz has always been that kind of person where she always... We're all very ambitious, but technically very, very interesting, I think.
Technically unsound.
Did you have these issues? Oh, that was a joke. Connick, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Max. Nice to meet you, Chris. I saw a little bit of Melbourne Survivor 3, so I was kind of paying attention to you guys, but I was only there for the first day for filming. I wasn't actually.
You were there at the first day of Melbourne Survivor 3?
That's right. You were all the way out in, I don't know where it was. Whoop. It was a long drive to get to the place.
Do you remember Connick from being there, Max?
Were you operating the drone?
I wasn't operating the drone.
I was behind the
Liz. No good.
No good. I've like never had this problem before. This is crazy.
You come back with the headphones.
You have to mute yourself, mate.
I'll yeah.
Test. There we go.
Okay, so what were you doing on Melbourne Survivor 3? See, we didn't get voted out day one, so we never met you.
There we go. No, so Melbourne Survivor Season 3 was kind of... Well, the first day was a little bit of an introduction, right? You guys were just running in, getting your equipment, and then setting up camp and everything. Not majorly too many of the challenges. I think there was one of the fire challenges you did early on. But yeah, I think that was there for that because I was just wanting to oversee the start of it. But yeah, that's why you won't see me. I'm behind the scenes. I'm sneaky like that. And I
understand you did a lot of the editing for the Melbourne 1 episode. Is that right?
Yes. So the way that Melbourne Survivor worked, and I would assume that once Liz jumps in, she can attest to this. But from what I did, because I remember when Liz messaged me a little bit ago, and she was like, "Okay, we have this podcast that's coming up, and we wanted to see if you could join in for this particular podcast." I'm like, "All right, sure, I can jump in." I don't know how much that I remember from season 1 because that was in 2018, I believe. It was
5 years ago.
5 years ago, and so I was like, okay, well, the last few days I was just scrolling through all the behind the scenes stuff just to see what we actually recounted on, what we actually talked about. So I actually wrote down a whole schedule in terms of how my point of view for Melbourne Survivor actually ended up happening. So I wrote down here originally, before I even get into talking about Melbourne Survivor, Liz, the amazing host, she ever since I'd known her, she's always been a huge fan of Survivor. I think whenever we'd talk in high school and whatnot, one of the main things that I always remember her talking about was Survivor. And I know that she's always quite, she's very knowledgeable about it. She's watched so many of these different shows and variety of Australian ones and US ones and all the backyard Survivor and all those different things. And she'd always recommend me. And from what I listed down, it was February of 2018 that she first pitched the idea. She was like, okay, well, I'm thinking of doing a Survivor a game for her 21st at the time. And I wrote down a few things that were pretty funny. So originally she was going to call it Liz's Survivor. But then she said that she felt it was really weird just calling it by her own name. And then later on, she decided she didn't want to do Melbourne Survivor or Survivor Melbourne because it seems too official at the time. But it ended up we actually chose Melbourne Survivor as the name. And over the course of the few months, so we had we had a lot of discussions, not just a few discussions. So we were looking at what different obstacles, puzzles, teamwork. So she's already been to a few, so she already had an idea of it. But essentially, I think what we envisioned at the start was we wanted to try to get a Survivor game, so 39 days, like a 39-day Survivor, and condense it essentially into one day. And that was I think that was pretty ambitious at the start. We could have probably made it a few days, but I think she just wanted to try to do it one day, see if the interest was there before we actually moved into other stuff. So I remember her recommending all these other Survivor games. There was she liked Backyard Survivor. There was something called Survivor Guts and Glory, Camp Survivor. A few of those might ring a bell. But she was really looking into the research in terms of how we can get to doing this stuff. So I think around April, we started doing test runs. She sent out applications and rules and all that stuff. And we were starting to collate all this equipment, crew, challenges, all that stuff. Like there was a huge debate over the tribe colors, for instance. We were originally, Liz was like, oh, should we do green or should we do all these colors? And I was like, oh, okay, good colors would be, contrasty colors. And she ended up choosing blue and yellow because she thought it was the cheapest one to buy from Amazon. So that's why those ended up being the tribe colors. And then the merge became, I think orange, was the merge color.
Yeah. Well, what sort of buffs were they? They were just like bandanas, weren't they? They weren't like proper buffs.
Like something like this kind of thing.
Yeah, were they?
Mine's still in the package, but yeah, essentially she'll just
buy them. You haven't used it yet.
Yeah, I know.
Did you have real buffs for this?
Yeah.
You gotta unmute yourself to talk. You gotta unmute to talk. I need to talk. Hang on. Liz, if you can answer a question.
Can anyone else not hear CK, or is that just me? Am I just something happening?
No one
I can hear CK.
Damn. Okay.
What is going on with Liz's settings?
The technical difficulties.
So were they buffs from a previous Survivor season, weren't they?
No. So I think from what I know is that she bought the buffs, and then you can design the logo to actually put it on. So for instance, this was an early. I can't actually. Hopefully you can see it. Maybe not. This was an early rendition of the Survivor logo that we were thinking of using, and then eventually over time we adapted it. But essentially, we just design the logo, and then she would just print it off, and then you can actually use that for your tailor-made buffs. Essentially, is how that ended up happening. So I think that was the way the buffs were created, and then over time, I think during June we started to do trials. So even though she's been to a few different Survivor events throughout Australia before, she didn't know the runtime in terms of how each of the challenges would go about. So for instance, she didn't know how long a particular puzzle might take or how long a particular obstacle course might take. And over time, we started getting all these different challenges and bits and bops. And then we also started expanding the crew. So we had a few of her high school friends started jumping on board. We also had a few of her own friends that were able to help out with filming as well. Is everything all good, Liz?
Yeah, I think so.
It's fixed.
There's no echo. That is crazy.
Luckily, Connick seems to have had an incredible amount of involvement in this season, and he's had a lot of content to drop in. How did you wrangle him to come in and just do all this work for you for no glory? For you to take all the glory, and we've never heard of this guy again.
Yeah, luckily for me, Connick's also a Survivor fan. Yeah, that helped a lot. Yeah. So I don't think I really wrangled him. He just got excited about it and was like, yeah, let's make this happen.
That is true. I think when she pitched it, I was like, oh, this could be a really cool way. We can make our own version of Melbourne Survivor. And then I remember I was doing so many of these different drafts. We were making drafts before we even got onto set. We were like, okay, this is, an idea of the overview of what it was. And then I even put in, this is now, it might be a bit difficult now, but before when we were making Melbourne Survivor, I was like, I really love the music from the original Survivor, for instance. And I was like, oh, hopefully we can go on YouTube. We find some background music from Survivor, different themes. I remember originally I used the season 8 theme as the theme that we used, but then Liz was like, no, we got to use the season 6 theme or something like that. So all right, we'll slot that in as well. So we were trying, I think we were making it, we were trying kind of to make it as authentic as possible. Nowadays, like Liz can actually do it over multiple days, so she has multiple parts to it. But I think when we first started, we were just, if we can just get a day done, that already would be pretty successful in itself.
I don't know how much of our coverage that you've watched, but on the first podcast we did covering this season, I mentioned and Jules mentioned the only reason this is so low in the countdown of the rankings is because we've only got a small amount of content available.
That's right.
But if this was a fully put together season, I think it would be quite a lot higher. The production seemed very strong and the contestants really brought a great game. But what I really loved is I think this is arguably the best finale that's ever been done in Australian LRGs. And I'm not just joking about that, because it starts off with a fantastically detailed recap like you normally get in a Survivor finale, which you don't look. Liz actually did a really good one. Did you do the one for Playing with Fire, or did Shelley do it?
Wait. Oh, the finale recap. I think that was completely me. Yeah. I'm not sure though. I have to look back at the credits.
Yeah, that was very, very good. But I think this was still probably better. It was very, very well put together. Then it comes with the drone shot, and then it runs through a very clear narrative, front to counter, and the ending with the I'm going to read the votes in 2 weeks, and the natural cut to the church, and everyone's clapping. It gave that real authentic Survivor old school finale vibe, which I really, really enjoyed. So I think you guys, for what you set out to do, you obviously didn't know when you made it that in 5 years' time people were going to be podcasting and comparing it to 10 other seasons where people actually put out the whole thing. But you just made something that you wanted to do, that you're passionate about. Actually, that was a joke, Liz, obviously. Enigmatic producer.
You creator wrong as well, so I just fixed it for you.
Oh, thank you for that. For those listening and not watching, I had credited Liz with sole creator, host, and founder of Melbourne Survivor, just because of the enigmatic producer of Mystery. Connick had never been henceforth mentioned to us previously. I think you did an amazing job of achieving the goal that you wanted to achieve. Put on a great day of Survivor. Everyone we've spoken to that was on the season remembers it very fondly. It obviously has had a huge impact in the growth of amateur survivors in Australia. I know Backyard 1 had been filmed already at this point. I'm not sure if it had been released. But what sort of impact did you expect in any way that this would have, Liz, this sort of impact 5 years from now, that it would have spawned so many brother and sister programs?
No, not really. but I feel like
sorry, Liz. Aston
Unreal.
from Canberra says Liz Zuckerberg.
Hey,
you're Eduardo.
Connick is a very he's obviously an ambitious person. He's a very busy person as well for all of the time that I've known him. He's got other things going on, whereas I have no life, so that's why I've dedicated myself to this.
Okay, so we got derailed there. You never thought that this would be what it's become?
Yeah, not really. Not to this extent. Yeah, I hoped that I could have multiple seasons. Yeah, that I you know, have people aside from just like people I know like doing it. But like I knew that other people were like setting up their own stuff like at the same like time as well. So I didn't expect it to like, you know, like spur on anyone. Yeah. So like Camp Survivor, like that Toby was running, like he was starting that up like at the same time as this. And then like obviously Backyard was already a thing. And yeah, so I thought like others might like pop up, but I didn't think like that they would be like because of Melbourne Survivor or anything.
I do think a lot of people, the other ones, do credit Backyard and Melbourne. If you ever see any videos of Sam Green from Talking in Brisbane, or Eli in Sydney, or Dan in Canberra, they do about why did you start to do this, or why do you think you could do this? They reference it, you know, it had been done, and simply the fact that it had been done before gives you the confidence. You know, I can do that. You know, I can put that together. It works.
Yeah, that's true. And like Backyard definitely like had that effect on me as well, and like giving that confidence, and also like just help from Kyle in general, just like offering like tips and stuff. Yeah.
For when you moved on to Melbourne too, do you mean?
So before that, so like I posted in some like Australian Survivor like Facebook group that I was like doing it, and to like just asking for ideas and stuff. And then Kyle like commented stuff, and then he also like messaged me and like gave me a heap of things, and then I had already seen a bit of Backyard Survivor, and then I like put two and two together. It's like, oh, you're this guy. But yeah, that was before.
And then you cast him because you were like needed someone last minute, and then he somehow backhand casted you on Backyard 3. There weren't any like backhand deals going on here. I don't. This is
no. Yeah. Yeah, he was very last minute as well.
That's what he said. He was just randomly in Melbourne. I just want to put up some comments here. Sam Green, creator of Brisbane Survivor, the best pace finishing host probably going to be ever. Winnings, also the winner of Sydney Survivor 1, said it was a massive inspiration what you had done with Melbourne Survivor, and it showed that it was actually possible.
What's also important to highlight, CK, is the sense of community that has been created with these LRGs. And just what we see now is the amount of like interconnection between, I guess, states now, and people flying over to help out crew at Canberra or help out in for Backyard. And now Sydney season 2, I'm sure, going to get people from all around helping out. And of course, we get the people coming to Melbourne to help. So it's become a national thing where people from different states come together for a thing that they all enjoy or love and help out in these LRGs, which is awesome.
There are 6 people watching this live instead of the Bromilow Medal. That's the sort of community we have.
Soon there's going to be 5 people watching, and I'm going to be out watching that Brownlow. And Brisbane, of course. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
People
Connick,
having up next Brisbane.
Connick, did you get it? Were you involved in season 2 at all, or was that you? I just helped out for the day. I'm not going to do anymore.
I think season 2, I was executive producer, so I did look over some of the stuff that Liz was doing, but I was definitely not as hands-on with season 1. I think season 1 was such a huge undertaking, but it also, as you mentioned, meant that it was possible. And I think after season 1, even the day after, firstly, we were knackered. We were so tired after the first day. But after we finished filming season 1, Liz was already thinking of season 2. We were already ready to go for season 2, and I think she also had like plans to get more people. I think originally, for instance, in season 1, we culled down the contestant list. I think I kept on asking, can we do 12 contestants? Can we do 10 contestants? Because I was like, well, we're so ambitious with the one day thing. So that's why when we started moving into season 2, and she wanted to have a multi-day event or multi-day Survivor, it meant there was more possible to have more space between each of the challenges. We didn't have to worry about it turning to nighttime so quickly. And then she wanted to have more contestants and more people from around that she knows of. And that's why season 2, I think she took the reins for it. I think she definitely had a bigger say in terms of how she wanted season 2. So, like, for instance, another an example would be in season 1, because it was a one-day event, we couldn't show as many confessionals, for instance. And I know that, for instance, she wanted to show more confessionals, more dialogue from each of the contestants, so you can get to know them more. And I think earlier on in the podcast, you were like, okay, for instance, Kevin won the ORCA award or whatnot, and he was only in the video for like 3 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's how ORCA Kevin was.
I know. I love Kevin. He was great on the day. He was. I would have definitely voted for him as well. But I just think, because of the time constraints and because it was a birthday celebration, we had only a limited amount of time. We didn't want all our audience at Liz's church to just be watching a 10-hour video. Yeah. We made it half an hour, and they watched it half an hour, and then Liz can reveal the votes. But yeah, I think it was like a genesis. It was like the idea formed in season 1, and then she just ran away with it in season 2, 3, etc., etc.
Well, the big question I've been getting from some people in the comments, and also the people we've had on the show, is: does the footage still exist? Can you make their damn season?
I think Liz has,
in particular, would like this to occur.
I think Liz has the footage. Look, this was the laptop that I used to edit.
You still have the laptop?
I know. It is.
Wow.
I tried opening it up earlier today to see if I can recover the footage. It has been dead since that. Even to be honest, it was already dying when we were editing Melbourne Survivor. I remember it was the actual day that Liz was about to unveil the votes, and I was still at the back of the church, editing the video. We were cutting it fine. We were cutting it very close. So the fact that it even turns on is a surprise in itself. But I'm not too sure about the footage. I thought I gave all the SD footage over to you, Liz, so you might have all of it.
I think I had it, but I think I deleted it.
No, look,
sorry, Toby.
But look, there is now 5 hours of podcast coverage that he can go back to and self-aggrandize himself about his victory. It has been discussed at length. There is now content. I feel like doing this coverage has given this season a life that it didn't ever have previously, because it was a really well put together season. One thing we haven't spoken about too much, and Max is our aficionado in this, is you may or may not know, Connick, but in Melbourne Survivor 4, which Max and I helped out with, Max made some incredible challenges. So he's our challenge
the challenge king.
Challenge king, who will come in.
Brady and I made some incredible challenges.
Sorry, Brady, and I understood Brady's the brainchild and you're more the tools.
We work as a team. Okay. One in all.
It's Brady and Max. Sorry, Brady. But that's why Max is here to critique or discuss the challenges. I think they look pretty good. What did you think about them, Max?
Well, for a first go at it, was something that's, as you said before, the timing of a one-day game where the challenges have to be nice, quick, and concise. I thought you smashed it, honestly. And
sorry, keep going.
So I was going to say, I was going to ask you like your thoughts on how you approached that, and also what was your favorite challenge? Because there's always a favorite challenge.
What was the favorite challenge? I really liked the eating strange food one.
What were the strange foods? Do you recall?
I think I remember. I think Keegan definitely remembers. I think it was. I think we started out with a kidney. Which I lightly fried after like opening a century egg, which was the second part, and then I couldn't eat eggs for like a year because it just smelled like urine to me. And then the last one was lamb brain.
Okay, I think that's really good because we talked about in this podcast before when Survivor seasons do the gross food eating challenge, and Survivor itself doesn't do it anymore because it's very hard to walk a fine line of being culturally insensitive with some foods that are traditional to certain regions, and to say it's gross when that's what people there eat every day is a very Western way of looking at things. But it sounds like you had a good mix where, like, I think the century egg is a challenge, I think, for a lot of people. And then lamb and kidney, like you're eating like clear organs, is sort of tricky for people. I think that's a good mix. And Canberra Survivor then, of course, had a century egg in their second season. So it came back once more.
I just remember the everyone afterwards were very put off by the gross food. And I think that really set the tone. I think
You like seeing people suffer, hey?
That was a good one. I think another challenge that I remember that people suffered on was we went to the lakeside and they had to grab the water, but the buckets had holes in it. And I think over time...
That is a great comment,
Shelley Gross from the community has come in with an absolute mum joke here because her last name is Gross or Gross, and she said gross food. Gross can sometimes
That's
be good.
fantastic, Shelley. That's awesome.
It's a very quality mum joke, Shelley. As a dad, I appreciate it. Sorry, Connick.
Yeah, so there we had another challenge at the lakeside where they had to grab the buckets to fill up the...
Yeah, they were complaining about this. They
were complaining about it. Good. Because I think at the time it was like, because it was a 1-day event, they couldn't switch out the socks or shoes or whatnot.
Yeah.
So they had to, as a viewer, just know that for the rest of that night they had scoochy, soggy shoes that they were walking in. But I think what made that...
Kyle, Kath, Kobe, anyone we talked to complained about that.
What I found really great about that particular challenge was that because we were at Gels Park and it was so out in the open, that because at that time we had a lot of different bystanders that actually passed by and that were cheering us on during that particular challenge.
They had no
so
idea
there
what
was
happening.
also
They were just like, yeah.
Yeah, there was a huge audience participation for them to keep pushing through to get that immunity. So yeah, I think those were my two favorites. Liz?
One of my favorite things about that challenge as well is that both Kath and Ian just like gave up at some point.
It's not.
They were like, yeah, nah, not for me.
What do you have any other fond memories of the season that we haven't talked about in our hours of coverage? Anything that we've missed? What was the party like after the votes? Your party began after the votes, I presume?
I don't think so. I think it was like a little bit. It was like scheduled for like a certain time, and then so it was kind of like in between.
Oh, so it was in between the party. So did the party go off once everyone had watched it? Was Toby just like living up life?
I think I gave a speech. Yeah, and I brought Connick up and like gave him something, a box of chocolates or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Just gave some other things out, something like that, and like I don't know, gave a speech about being 21 and stuff.
Yeah, and I think at that time. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, you go.
At that time, I think we didn't tell anyone that we were gonna show up with the votes. I think at the time we were like, okay, we'll just play the video.
Yeah.
And at the end of the video, it's like, oh yeah, I've revealed the votes, and she walks off into the dark. And then I think Liz and I, we had the idea, is like, okay, as she walks off in the dark, you have to come in real life as well at the same time. And I think that it was so hype when she walked in, and everyone in the crowd turns around and they see Liz coming with the votes. Oh my goodness, that was great.
It was deja vu in my wedding day, actually.
Well, I was gonna mention that some people in the comments said who attended your wedding was like, this is the same. Was this her wedding? Was it for her wedding? This is the same church. And obviously, your church is an important part of who you are, but you've had some very special moments here with your 21st and this Survivor production that's led to a lot of things you've done now in your life and a big part of your life. And you got married there. Of course, you didn't meet your husband on Survivor, but he did play a season.
Yes.
So it's a very like, you know, it's a such a, has this been a, you know, coming back to this season, which I'm sure you haven't given a lot of attention through these 4 weeks, has it been a real like coming around, like looking back at where you've come from, full circle sort of situation?
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, it's been cool. Just like looking back and stuff. It's just good to see Connick again, honestly. Like it's been a little while. Like
It hasn't been.
you know.
Well, I'm glad I'm reconnecting your strained and friendships. You know, I'm connecting them back. I tried with Charlotte; she wasn't interested. I'm sorry, but I'm connecting this one together. If only Kevin had responded to me. Well, look, I just want to say thank you to both of you for coming on. Liz, obviously, this is not the last time we'll be seeing you. Who? Just out of curiosity, will we seeing Connick again when we do Warrandyte? Who else would be joining you for a production podcast for Warrandyte?
For Warrandyte, so sort of the people who are doing most of like the planning for like the format and stuff of the season were like Rosemary, Kyle, Toby and Keegan.
Okay.
So those were the people I was like talking to about that stuff. Connick, I was just like always like messaging about like tech things. And also during like the when I was editing, there were like a lot of
Yes,
there was a lot of
some
that,
editing
like
helps as well.
troubleshooting and things.
Well, like that's excellent. I look forward to chatting with them when we do Warrandyte sometime down the track. Connick's fantastic to meet you. I hope that this has rekindled your interest in the community a little bit, because it sounds like just from this brief period we've spoken to you, you've got a lot of great ideas, you've got a lot to offer, and you've got a lot of skills in terms of the edited program we saw. So I think we would all love it if you were to rejoin the community a little bit. Would you play a season?
Oh man,
I think before.
Liz has pitched the idea before. I feel like I'm more of a behind the camera versus on the camera. I don't know if I'm great at social components of it.
What are you talking about? You're like, aren't you like friends with like everyone from high school, still like 5 years old?
Personally, I've really enjoyed your vibe in this interview. You're well spoken. You've got a cool vibe. I'd look to align with you. I think you'd also do great confessionals.
Likewise. I
Thank
agree
you.
with that statement, CK. Just give it a go.
So, yeah, give it a go. You never know. There's always people looking out for contestants, and you know, it's a very positive thing in today's world that you know, when I've done casting, you get a lot of straight white guys applying, and you know, when you're a straight white guy, you're fighting against a lot of other straight white guys for spots. But when you represent a more diverse background, there's a lot more opportunity, which is excellent, and that's why a lot of survivors do it these days. So I'm sure, and plus you have been so interesting on this. I think you'd be a slam dunk casting. Mel Sheehan agrees. She says you've been fascinating to listen to, and you should definitely play. Mel, of course, played in Canberra too, and has been production on some seasons. And she's been watching a lot of these ones live, and I should give her the shout out that she won the James Wolfe mini LRG Survivor, or it wasn't Survivor, it was some other game. This Saturday night, went to the final with Sam from Brisbane and with John Tan from Canberra and Melbourne Survivor, the game as he's now known for those that are watching that podcast, because he's the John Tan with all the H's. He's the Triple H, so he's the game. We got there in the end. So that was a great success for you, Mel. I couldn't play because I had a gig. If I had played, I probably would have gone out pretty early.
Well done, Mel. Great effort.
And then Sam, who came second, is propping her up, and he's happy for her because he won a real game of Survivor. All right, so I want to thank everyone that has come. So thank you, Liz. Thank you, Connick. Thank you, Max. for being with us today. I just want to also thank everyone that's been part of this programming for the last 4 weeks. We, of course, had Jules joining me for the initial show. We then had my interview with Toby, where Ma joined us. And then we had the excellent tea party with Annabel, hosting with Kyle and Kath. And now, of course, Liz, Connick, and Max joining me, as well as Annabel in the awards earlier. This is the end of the Melbourne One coverage, but it is not the end of the ORCA countdown. As we move into the month of October, we will be looking at Backyard Survivor Season 1. There is still time to start binging. It's not super long, like it's 10 eps, and most are about 20 minutes-ish. So it's very watchable in a binge. I'm hoping that you'll join us. It's a really great season. It's got some really great elements that I'm really excited to talk about. And the first episode of that will be in about a week's time. And I'll be joined by ORCA's Jules and Danny. And then we will have the continued coverage, an interview with the host, with the host, obviously, like we've done here, an interview with the winner, hopefully, and also a tea party. So look out for all of that, and look out for the voting for Canberra Survivor Season 1, very soon to be on a Facebook link that I spam into your feeds shortly. So for all of us here at the ORCA Pod, thank you very much to the people that are listening, whether you're listening live and commenting, which we love, or whether you're listening later on a podcast form when you're running or walking or commuting or whatever you're doing. You know, it's all part of this community, and like I would speak into a vacuum happily, really, just to hear the sound of my own voice. But it's always glad to have people actually paying attention to the content. So thank you to everyone who makes an effort to be here live. That's particularly special. But everyone who listens, we love you. Thank you so much. We will see you all next week for Backyard 1.
Thanks, guys.